Hi folks, welcome back to Casey's Book Corner. I'm Kirsten, and today's book review is a feel-good memoir by Eleanor called Staunch. So, pull up a chair, get comfy, get cosy, grab a little drinky, and let's get started. For my birthday last year, my other half got me a book subscription to the Tea Time Book Club, and he selected the mystery box, mystery genre, mystery author, not a clue about what it's going to be. So every single month through the post, I get a different book. I don't think I've received even the same genre twice so far. It's a really, really great way of expanding my horizons in the world of books. And this is how I came across this book, Staunch by Eleanor. Memoirs aren't something I would normally gravitate towards. The ones that I've read in the past can sometimes be a little bit too sad for me. I like to feel happy rather than sad. So I tend to kind of steer away from them because that's the vibe I've always gotten in the past. However, the cover of this book is bright pink, first of all, and the blurb just hits with a little bit of humour. So I was really intrigued to learn a little bit more about Eleanor and her life. So Eleanor has traditionally written young adult books in the past. So this memoir is a little bit of a steer away from that realm. She lives in Brighton, so she's a UK author, and her memoir obviously goes into some of her family history and what brought her to where she is today. So, the plot. Eleanor is, at the time of writing this book, in her mid to late 30s, so she is the same age as me. She's gone through a bit of a rough time the last few years. She's lost a parent. She has had some breakups, had some pretty traumatic relationships, and she's having a little bit of a crisis of self. So she inadvertently kind of reconnects with her nan, who is in her 80s. And as part of this, decides to go with her nan and her two very elderly great aunts to Goa in India for a little bit of a family pilgrimage. So her grandparent and her great aunts were born and raised in India before the kind of troubles over there and the separation of the countries, and a lot of the British citizens were then kind of removed from India, so they came back to the UK. Now, saying back, they had never been in the UK before, but this is where they ended up. So it's a really interesting story about her gaining some perspective on her family history and what makes her family the way that they are. And it's also really introspective, and it also helps her to discover who she is as part of it. And that is the basic premise of the book. Let's talk about the characters. So, Eleanor in particular, she was the same age as me when this book was written. So I really connected with a lot of the things that she was going through, a lot of the thoughts that were going through her head. She has had some real kind of dealings with low self-esteem, and when things are going wrong, placing the blame onto herself in some way. And I completely connected with that. That's literally what I do in my own life. So it was really, really good to kind of see almost a mirror image of me. Her experiences were different, but a lot of those underlying feelings and those feelings you get maybe as you're starting to get a little bit older and you're losing your youth and all that kind of stuff sort of start to seep in. So Eleanor was really a great character. It's a memoir, so she's speaking about herself, which also kind of hits home a little bit deeper from that perspective. And then we've got Eleanor's Nan in particular, who is a wonderful, wonderful character. She has got so much heart and so much warmth and so much zeal about her that it was difficult not to completely fall in love with her Nan. She reminded me a lot of my grandma, and I know that the word that is used to describe Eleanor's elderly kind of relatives is staunch. That's the name of the book. That's something that she wants to develop herself. And my grandma would definitely be described as staunch. She would say it how it is. She was filled with love for everyone around her, but she didn't stand for no BS. She, went through lots of hardship and came through it on the other side, for the most part, with a smile upon her face. So again, I really related to Eleanor's Nan because she reminded me so much of my grandma. And I know that, if my grandma was still around today, that she would, have so many of the characteristics of Eleanor's Nan. And it was a really nice, kind of heartwarming thing to read about. Made me want to, give her a cuddle and, see my Nan again and all that kind of stuff. So it was really nice, really heartwarming. And you got to have someone like that in your corner. Her two aunties are also really similar to that. They've all got their own personality, but they all add their own take on the family history, and they all add their own little smidgen of character into what Eleanor's journey becomes. It was really, really good. There are some boyfriend characters who come back in kind of almost flashback moments, and they're all plonkers. Basically, she's had some pretty bad relationships, and I suitably detested every single one of them, as I think you're meant to. So yeah, the characters were really, really well done, and I loved all of that little group of really strong women. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I loved the message that it was conveying. I loved that there was a lot of talk about mental health and mental well-being, but there was no illusions that Eleanor has gotten through this hard time in her life just with the help of her grandparents in this 2-week holiday. She's very open and transparent about going to therapy, building a support network, trusting your friends and sharing your insecurities with them, and really gravitating towards building a more fulfilling life. I really loved the honesty of that. Sometimes I think memoirs can be a little self-centered in the sense of, I got myself through this, I did this because I am strong, whereas Eleanor's message is more, I recognised that I wasn't being strong, and I recognised that there was avenues to help me become strong, and her elderly relatives were part of that journey and part of that process. So I really did like that. It gave me nice tingly feelings about just life in general, and about my own support network and stuff, and how lucky I am to have such a great network of people around me. So the messaging was really good. There was some really, really humorous parts of it. Again, I think because I was connecting with the character, and a lot of her feelings and a lot of her kind of inner monologue were really similar to me, and her reminiscing about her 20s and things like that were really funny, because I'm like, oh my god, I totally did that, and this is how I feel now. So yeah, it was really, really, really good to read, and I gave it 4 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely recommend, even if you're not normally one for a memoir, if you're looking for something just to kind of lighten up your mood a little bit, I think this will do that for you. I read this right after reading the Haunting and Hunting Adeline duet, which is obviously a very, very dark, very, very gritty romance with themes that are not particularly pleasant all the way through. So this book really helped me kind of relieve myself from that darkness that I had read in those other two books. So I would definitely say if you're looking for something heartwarming, something uplifting, then this will do the trick. There are still some dark themes in it, but they're approached in a very different way, in a very positive way, if that makes sense. So yeah, get it added on the list. I gave it 4 whole stars. And there you have it, my review of Staunch by Eleanor Wood. I will be back in a couple of days' time with another review. I am going to be reviewing the advanced reader copy that I received in exchange for an honest review. I finished it last week, so I'm really, really excited to share my thoughts on that. So that will be my next review coming up. That's also a dark romance with some kind of crime, police, procedural sort of vibes in it. But you'll find out the rest when I come back in a couple of days' time. Until then, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I will speak to you very soon. Happy reading. Cheerio.